Well, we have 6 commissioners, which is all we're going to have tonight, and so we're going to start. Our chairperson, Tricia Duncan, is on vacation and won't be with us, so I'm going to chair. And let's start out with call to order and approval of the agenda. The agenda, if I'm not mistaken, actually didn't change. We had thought about adding something, but we took it off. So I believe that the agenda that we're using is identical to the one that we posted 7 days ago. Does anybody think that that's wrong? Yeah, Chop.
I'm not sure which one we are using, but I just want to make sure. I don't think we have a letter to the mayor regarding the MacArthur High School. So if that is on people's agenda, we don't have that, but maybe it got dropped. Is that what you're talking about, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Elkins is right that we were talking about having that letter, and it was actually on an informal agenda, but it was not on the agenda from 7 days ago. So I'm moving that we accept the agenda that we posted 7 days ago, which does not include the MacArthur bus letter.
Second.
So all in favor? 6-0. Let's move to the Metropolitan Police Report. Is Officer McElwee there? It's all yours.
Good evening, Commissioner Horn and all the commissioners and everybody in attendance. Thanks for having us, as always, and we appreciate being here. I'm going to start off with the PSA 205 monthly crime report. We had a total of 20 offenses for the last 30 days, 2 burglaries, 3 stolen autos, 6 theft from autos, and 9 general thefts. I'm going to start off with the burglaries first. We had a burglary of a business located in the 5100 block of MacArthur Boulevard. I think everybody knows the place. It's Max Deli. On June 21st at approximately 1:53 a.m., the MPD responded to the deli for a burglar alarm. Once our members were on scene, we observed a smashed out front window. S1, they're the suspects, S1 and S2, there was 2 of them, were captured on security, arriving in a vehicle which was later determined to be stolen. And they broke into the store, climbed through the window where they stole money from several of the cash registers. Subjects were seen fleeing in that same vehicle that they arrived in. Our detectives are working on it. And that's where we're at with that. We had a burglary of a residence on June 19th. The complainant or the homeowner was out of the country when he received an alert that his credit card had been used in the DMV area. C1, the complainant contacted a neighbor who called MPD. MPD responded to his home, and it was discovered that the home's front door was broken into. Some personal items were stolen. While we're on this topic, please contact me at my email address, which I will leave in the chat room at the end of my presentation, whenever you go on vacation. We'll be happy to come by and check on your home. And, sometimes we'll even send you an email saying that we went by there just to give you a good peace of mind that everything's okay. Moving on to the stolen automobiles. We had 3, and just for time's sake, I'm going to just go through the locations of them, as well as when we get to the theft from autos, just in case some of your listeners live in those neighborhoods, to be on the lookout for suspicious activities. We have 5300 Potomac Avenue. We had a 2017 V60 gray wagon that was stolen. This vehicle was recovered. 4400 block of Greenwich Parkway. We had a 2017 Hyundai Tucson wagon, also gray. This vehicle has not been recovered as of yet. And the third vehicle, and this is all, these two are all in the Foxhall Village area, 1644th Street, 2019 silver Hyundai Elantra. A vehicle hasn't been recovered. Please remember to lock and alarm all your vehicles while they are parked unattended, and remove any personal possessions such as backpacks. Believe it or not, some people leave their wallets in there, they leave their purses in there. And that's what they're targeting. And I'm moving on to the theft from auto locations, that we had 3 of them. And these were, two were construction vehicles, and the other ones were like backpacks that were left inside in plain view. Again, the locations, just so you're aware where these are occurring. 3000 block of University Terrace was a construction work vehicle. 1500 block of 44th Street. This window was broken out of that vehicle. 4800 Tilden Street, they broke up the window of that vehicle. 5100 Macomb Street was another construction vehicle. And we had another one on 5500 Potomac. With that said, we received a couple complaints today over last night about a subject named Michael Burke. We are aware of this individual who is what we consider a mental health consumer. He has been dropping letters off in mailboxes, and last night he dropped letters off in the 4500 block of Foxhall Crescent community. MPD is aware of this gentleman. We have stepped up our enforcement back there on all 3 shifts, so you will see extra patrols in that area. Other than putting the letters in the mailboxes, he hasn't really committed any crimes. But if you do get a letter, please give us a call. We'll generate a report. And if you see him, he's a black male, approximately 50 years old. Please give us a call so we can come out and maybe catch him out there and develop a case against him. Also, I have some good news. I don't know, maybe if you recall this, back in 2019, we had a homicide back off of Canal Road near the Chain Bridge. The individuals were believed to be related to MS-13, nobody local in the community. Let me pull up. On Tuesday, July 9th, members of the Metropolitan Police Department Fugitive Unit took custody of Pedro Alexandra Joya Arguda from the United States Marshals, and he was charged with that homicide. So there is a closed case on there. I wanted to put that out there. Moving into traffic, and I'll be happy to take some questions. As everybody knows, we had the unfortunate traffic fatality last month at the intersection of Foxhall and Q. And as a response to that, MPD, basically myself, responded out there and gave that for the last 30 days special attention. And during that time, I wrote 17 tickets, moving violations, 2 speeding, 1 red light, several cell phones, several insurance violations, and 1 blocking the box. Also 1 crosswalk violation as well. And when I say crosswalk, they blocked the crosswalk. There was not a pedestrian in it. They just obstructed the crosswalk, so they were issued a ticket for that. And with that said, I'm happy to take questions, concerns, complaints.
Thank you, Officer McElwee. Do commissioners have questions?
I just have one. You forgot the camera rebate and the AirTag programs.
Oh, you're correct on that, Commissioner JP. The District of Columbia has a camera program, and you can go online and basically, in a nutshell, you can get up to $200 to $500 back when you rebate back when you purchase these cameras. And from what I'm seeing over the past several years, They basically almost cover the whole amount of the camera system itself. We encourage you, they're outside cameras, and all that the MPD ask is if there is a crime in your area and you've captured the crime on the videotapes, we ask that you, provide us with those tapes so we can investigate the incident. JP, can you type in the chat room?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Because I don't have that on me. Also, the air tags and tiles, which MPD rolled out. We started rolling that out about 9 months ago with the carjackings, which, by the way, our carjackings are down. That's good news. These air tags, they're small little things like what I have here. I have it on my key ring. And they're cheap. You can buy one for about $20. You can buy a pack of 4 for about 80 from Walmart, Amazon. And what they do is you program through them Androids, your Android phone, iPhones, air tiles are pretty good for those. And a long story short, if you hide it in your car, or you hide it in a backpack or something that's important to you and it gets stolen, we can track it real time. With your help through your cell phone. And it has helped the Metropolitan Police Department with several apprehensions of stolen vehicles and stolen property. So take advantage of that. And we also have the Amazon boxes that are set up in front of the 2nd District. Porch pirate package thefts are a big thing all over the place, not just DC, but around the surrounding DMV areas. It's free of charge. If you don't want to leave it on your porch, you can't get anybody out there to get it, you can have it delivered in front of the 2nd District. It's free of charge. And everything's under camera and you're in front of our police station. So take advantage of that as well.
That's very good. Do any other commissioners have a question? Do any of the public have a question for Officer McElwee? All right, well, thank you so much.
Okay, everybody, stay safe. And
Thank you,
again,
Tony.
I'm gonna put my email in the chat. Did someone?
Very good. So the next is Matthew Barclay here?
Hi, this is Hope Cousin. Good evening, everyone. Matthew Barkley is not here this evening, but he is a member of the team. Again, my name is Hope Cousin. I'm the new Ward 3 Mokers manager. Here we go, start video, I think. Yeah, hi, everybody. Just wanted to reintroduce myself again. My name is Hope Cousin. I'm the new Ward 3 manager for the Mokers, and I just wanted to participate in this meeting to introduce myself, let you know that I'm available to you for assistance, the same that Matthew was and will continue to be. Just wanted to introduce myself, and I'll put my email in the chat. And as well as my cell number and things of that nature, so that you can contact me if you have any issues that you would like elevated to the mayor's office.
That's very good.
I'll do that now.
Any questions? Yes, please. Why don't we move to Matt Fruman's office? Is there someone here representing Matt Fruman's office? I do not see anyone. Is DDOT represented Christian Pinero? I do not see his name either. But that's fine. It's hot. It's summer. Why don't we go to local institutions and community updates? Is American University or George Washington represented?
Hi, everybody. Laura Marks from American University.
Thank you.
You all, good evening, commissioners and residents. Nice to see everybody. Not a lot to report other than our new president started at AU last week. President John Alger, he came from James Madison University. So he's just kind of getting settled in, and we will look forward to events and opportunities to welcome the community, to meet him and hear from him, get to know his vision for the university. We have our new director of community relations starting next week, so we will look forward to introducing him around as well. We are going to have our next CLC, which will be with President Alger on September 10th. So we will get that date out in our newsletter soon. And move-in starts August 17th and classes begin August 26th. So we're just enjoying a little bit of downtime before everything starts back up again.
That sounds great. Are there any questions for Laura Marks? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Is there anyone here for George Washington University? I do not see anyone listed. So is there anyone for Wesley or Georgetown that is not talking about something other than what's on the agenda later? Yeah, thought that was unlikely. Okay, so let's move to other institutions. Are there any organizations that have announcements to make? And I would just like to announce that I thought that the 4th of July was superb, and that the PCA was just terrific. Any organizations have announcements? Good. Okay, let's go to commissioner updates, starting with Commissioner Elkins.
I have nothing except to say that the Transportation Committee is on vacation until potentially September. But you'll see on the agenda a number of things that have come through that committee. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Colon Roosevelt.
I don't really have anything. I wanted to, if there was a representative from Matt Freeman's office, talk to them about the Wilson Pool is finally reopened, which is kind of incredible after like 16 months. And I know that in the end, Matt started going like every single week to watch whether DGS was doing the work or not. So I wanted to say thanks to him for doing that. And it's really nice that it's finally open, and they're going to be scaling back the hours at the first, I think now. Other than that, that's it.
Yeah. Commissioner Davis.
Nothing from me this month.
Very good. I have nothing. Oh, well, there is some very strange legal things going on with the Fitzgerald and our Board of Zoning adjustment case. Apparently, the Fitzgerald has not gotten a written opinion from the Board of Zoning Adjustment, even though they ruled orally in December, and that the Department of Buildings won't give them a certificate of occupancy unless they get that cleared up. So I just heard this today. We'll keep an eye on it. Commissioner Noah.
I think my two topics have already been addressed, and congratulations to the PCA on an excellent 4th of July parade, and thank you to our own Vice Chairman Horn, who was one of the judges for the parade. We saw him working hard at the corner of Dana and MacArthur, judging groups as they went by in floats. And my other topic was on the topic of Wilson Pool. Commissioner Colon, I had to hold myself back when I saw Matt Freeman from a little bit of a distance on the 4th of July. We were both lining up for our various parade responsibilities, and I had to stop myself from going over to talk to him about the pool. So I'm with you. It's great to have it open and available to the fine citizens of DC.
And Commissioner Simkowitz?
I don't have anything this month. Thank you.
Very good. This is the time when community concerns can be brought up. If you have community concerns, we ask that if it's something that's already on the agenda later, to hold that. And if you have something different to say, please try to keep it at 2 minutes. Is there anyone who wants to speak about something like that? I don't see anyone. That's fine. So the first discussion on our agenda is Claudio's table expansion presentation. Is that?
Yep, I could speak just a little bit to that. If anybody's unfamiliar with Claudio's Table, it's been a terrific addition to my SMD and to our neighborhood. It's at the corner of Cathedral and MacArthur Boulevard, sister restaurant to Et Voila down the street you may be familiar with, but it's Claudio's take on Italian fare. It's been terrific. The dry cleaner that was next to it closed up shop several months ago, and I think Claudio has purchased the property. He's looking to expand. There's a gentleman, Matthew Minora here, who I think is the legal representative for the restaurant is here, and he was going to share a little bit. Matt, if you could chime in and just give us a little bit more information about what the plans are for I know we're not going to be voting on anything tonight, but if you could just kind of bring our neighborhood and community up to speed as to what the plans are.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for the great introduction, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Like I said, Claudio's Table is looking to expand into the attached dry cleaning space, and that'll give us a total, at most, an additional 40 seats and another 10 standing room for patrons. So it's a total increase of, I guess, the 50 occupants. It'll bring the entire premises interior to 140 occupants once the construction is done. That would be the absolutely maximum. And so we're really just coming to discuss it now because the way it's set up, because the settlement agreement limits us to capacities of only 90, we have to first amend the settlement agreement with the ANC before we can apply to ABRA to get the permission to potentially, to even file the application for the permission to have the expansion. So we're here just tonight to present and sort of just give a rough rundown on what the plans are so that come September, after there's been public notice for it, we can, the ANC can hopefully have a vote to amend the settlement agreement to allow us to have the increased capacity.
All right. So is there a PowerPoint?
No, we're so far in advance of this because we didn't really go and get the building permits or anything like that until we know we could actually have the expansion of the capacities would be allowed for. So this is just incredibly preliminary. It's basically just going to be obviously the two buildings. If I could share my screen, I could show you. Maybe it's good to the Google Maps does a good job of that. I'm not sure if I'm able to. Oh, here we go. Yes, I'm not great with this, so please bear with me. Here we go. Share. Okay, I think this is working now. Can you see the Google map?
Yes, there it is.
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, so this is obviously in 2022, but if you can see, but this is where Claudio's Table clearly is now. And then if we go over here, the two buildings are connected. This is the dry cleaning premises, and they're just going to expand into the existing dry cleaning premises.
Mr. Minora, can you tell us, is the storefront going to extend along the sidewalk? Like, is the whole parking lot going to become enclosed, or is it going to be an open air type of deal?
No, from what I understand, the facade here is going to stay the same, and it's just going to stay within the existing footprint of the dry cleaner.
Okay, great.
I mean, hopefully we'll have some sort of some kind of rendering to share in September. Just at that point, hopefully we'll have some kind of sketches. But we just wanted to just sort of take the temperature of the neighborhood now, because without the neighborhood support, we can't move forward.
Okay, so with so neighbors who are on the call now, and we'll also send out announcements for our September meeting, can join this meeting and see what the renderings will look like and what the plans will be.
So I have a question about the current use of the space. I saw when I drove by recently that the parking lot, what was formerly the parking lot, now has tables and chairs and umbrellas. It looks lovely. I am curious if that was part of the original settlement agreement and zoning, or is that something that you had to apply for separately? Is it by right to a restaurant if you have outdoor space?
Yes, so that's a good question. That was a Streeter endorsement that we secured earlier this year. The ABC board approved it, I think, in February, and then it was after that. It wasn't a part of the original settlement agreement. It just wasn't considered at the time. But then the potential fear for some sort of pandemic situation, and just knowing how well it worked out with Voila, we wanted to give ourselves the option of a Streetery now, just so that way, if in the future it's required, we already have it.
Yeah,
And it's been very
okay.
successful.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other commissioners have questions? All right,
Mr. Chairman, I did have one.
please.
So I didn't quite understand about the outdoor seating. This is something that the ABC gave you. I don't think that came through the ANC, is that right? So we did not address any noise issues and that sort of thing. Did we have an opportunity for that?
The Streeter endorsement just requires ANC notification, not approval. But if there's specific concerns and things that we want to address in the amendment settlement agreement, now would also be the time, obviously. So this is a good time to have that discussion as well.
Yeah, so that might be a good time to ask. I have no information that the noise is in any sense a problem. Don't misinterpret that. It just is an opportunity for the ANC to ask the neighbors whether there is any problem.
Absolutely.
And of course, there is an opportunity, and now that you have new space, to deal with what I think a number of neighbors have mentioned about your restaurant, and that is it's pretty noisy inside. So if there's that, of course, doesn't bother the neighbors, but if there's anything you could do with the new space to make it quieter, that I would not.
No, I'll certainly pass those
to do with the settlement agreement, I would not suggest that. I'm just mentioning that I've heard a number of people complain about the noise inside.
Sure. No, I'll pass those comments on to Chef Perillo. Thank you so much for sharing.
Any other questions? Other questions for this presenter? Well, we look forward to seeing you back in September, and thank you for giving us this heads up.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks very much. We appreciate the support, commissioners.
Okay, let's go back to the regular screen. And we're going to move on to Georgetown University Campus Plan Amendment. And who's going to present that?
That would be me, Commissioner.
Very good.
Hello. Let me go ahead and share my screen if I can. Give me 1 second here. Let's make this just a little bigger. Perfect. All right. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you, commissioners, for the opportunity to introduce Georgetown University's Campus Plan Amendment to the ANC tonight. My name is Corey Peterson, and I serve as the AVP for Community Engagement and Local Government Affairs. I'm going to cover this rather quickly, but plenty of time at the end if there's questions. So our agenda tonight is our Campus Plan Amendment covers 3 items. These include our Capital Campus undergraduate program students, a remedy for exceeding enrollment maximums, and adding a property to Campus Plan boundaries. Like I said, I'll cover these briefly tonight, and then I plan to return on Wednesday, October 2nd to formally present on the amendment at the ANC meeting and request a proposal or a resolution in support. Before jumping into the first item, it's important to provide some context, and that is that growing our undergraduate enrollment on the Hilltop isn't really an option anymore. We've done a lot to think through that and the growth of our undergraduate students, and downtown makes sense. It incorporates the presence of our law school, which has been at downtown since 1871 and its current location for over 50 years. And together it creates the Capital Campus and also aids in the mayor's focus to develop and grow downtown DC. To give some context of where, just to point out a few buildings here. So this would be Mass Ave, this would be New Jersey Ave, this is the Law Library. This is McDonough, the main building that has a lot of our clinics in it. Gewertz would be the residence hall, along with the other 2 buildings here that make up our law school. We have 125 East Street here, and I'll get into the details of what these all cover here in just a minute, but 125 East Street, 500 First Street, we've got 111 Mass. Most people would refer to this as the old Darth Vader building. And then up here, we've got 77H, which we're in the process, a TOPA process. And just below that here, we've got 55H, which is a residence hall. I'll cover those here just really quickly. So as you can see, we have been busy. In 2021, we opened up 500 First Street. This is an interdisciplinary space for the Capital Applied Learning Lab programs and a few of our research centers. In 2022, we opened up a residence hall, which incorporates 470 beds. In 2024, we opened up 125 E Street, and that will formally open up this fall, but we started moving in March, but that is the new home for our McCourt School of Public Policy. And then in 2025, we will open up 111 Mass, which will be the new home for our School of Continuing Studies, Earth Commons, and a few other programs, including executive education. And then, as I mentioned before, we have 77 8th Street, which we're in the process of purchasing, and then 2027, pending some funding, we'll have a new law building that will replace Keywords. So let's get into the first part of this. As part of our development of the Capitol campus, the number of traditional undergraduate program students on the Hilltop will remain limited to the current cap of 6,675. However, as more juniors and seniors are enrolled at programs based at the Capitol campus, there will be proportionally more first-year and sophomore students on the Hilltop than there are currently. As I mentioned before, it's important to note the Hilltop campus will maintain the same number of traditional undergraduate program students as it currently does at 6,675. In the early years of the Capitol campus, a relatively low number of undergraduate students may need to return to the Hilltop for certain classes in order to meet degree requirements. In other words, initially some students may need to return to take a class, say French, to complete their degree requirement. And until we're able to get all of our classes downtown for our students to successfully complete their degree requirements, we're asking for some flexibility here. So we've worked with our Georgetown Community Partnership collaboratively to develop a solution on how those students will be counted. As detailed on this slide, any students taking any class on the Hilltop will remain included in the main campus head count, which is a maximum of 14,106, and that is consistent and remains consistent with the campus plan. A limited number of Capitol campus undergraduate students who also take 1 or 2 classes on the Hilltop will be excluded from our traditional undergraduate program cap of 6,675. The number of students to be included in the first 2 academic years of the Capitol campus are 140 and 320, which you'll see here on this slide, with the number of excluded students after year 2 to be determined in consultation with the Georgetown Community Partnership. Capitol campus undergraduate enrollment, including the number excluded from the TUP or the traditional undergraduate program headcount, will be reported each semester as part of Georgetown's ongoing enrollment and housing reports. In order to ensure this flexibility does not adversely impact the community, we've made several commitments. Specifically, undergraduate students who are enrolled in programs based at the Capitol campus will be required to reside at the Capitol campus, or if they are a senior, outside the Georgetown, Burleith, and Foxhall neighborhoods. We will also ensure that we make at least 550 beds of on-campus housing at the Hilltop available for seniors, and will work to achieve an occupancy rate of 95% of those beds. Undergraduate students will continue to be prohibited from bringing cars to the main campus or parking them on the streets of Georgetown, Burleith, and Foxhall, and we will continue to provide convenient free bus transportation between the Hilltop and the Capitol campus, as well as facilitate reduced rate access for students to utilize Capitol Bike Share to discourage travel by car. And then lastly, violations of our housing and parking policies will be included in the Code of Student Conduct to ensure appropriate mechanisms are in place for informing students that there's compliance and enforcement. So that's the first part of our amendment. The second part of our amendment is how to remedy for when we exceed the enrollment maximums. And pardon me, make sure I'm on the right slide here. Despite our best, we're proposing a mechanism to address these incidents when the university, despite its best efforts, inadvertently exceeds the enrollment cap. In the event one of the enrollment caps is exceeded, the university will reduce such enrollment by an equal number of students in a corresponding semester, i.e. fall to fall or spring to spring, within 2 years from the end of the semester in which the over-enrollment occurred. And you'll notice in this last year, we were over by 5, and part of the first part of the amendment of those 5, 4 of those were in the instance I was discussing. So they were based out of the Capitol campus, but were taking 1 class on the Hilltop. well, we counted them as Hilltop students, which means we exceeded our cap by those 4 students. So this is to sort of remedy both of these potential issues coming up. And then the third part is the addition of a property to our campus plan. And as many of you know, Georgetown has leased the car barn for a number of years, and we recently purchased it. And so this part of this campus plan amendment adds the car barn to the campus plan boundaries. And you can see in the car barn is highlighted here in red on the map. And it's down here. This is our current boundaries, which is this dotted line that works its way around. This is the car barn. And then our proposed time or anticipated timeline. So you can see last week we were at ANC3D doing the same presentation. We're here tonight. And then our target filing date is the end of July, with full presentations back to the ANC2E and 3D at the end of September or early October, with an anticipated hearing at zoning in fall 2024. This is my contact information. I want to make sure folks have that. If there's anything I can do to answer any questions or provide additional context, I'm certainly available for any of that. I want to appreciate the opportunity to take any questions that anybody might have.
Thank you very much. Do any commissioners have questions? Commissioner Nowak?
Yeah, mine is actually not a question, but a statement. I am through a weird thing that's happening in our ANC because of some conflicts. I am the member from the ANC on the Georgetown Community Partnership. And so I wanted to report that this plan had not only been presented to the partnership, but really developed in consultation with the partnership over many months. And, you know, there were lots of back and forths. And I do think that the university accepted some of the suggestions made by that partnership. And in the end, the members voted unanimously in support of the plan. So that is not to usurp the authority in any way of the ANC to have an opinion on it, but just reporting about the neighbors. There you have it.
Very good. Commissioner Elkins?
Corey, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
I note that you believe that ANC3D is meeting on October 2nd. If I read we're meeting on October 9th.
No problem.
That doesn't mess up your schedule, I hope.
It does not. I appreciate that correction.
Okay. The other thing is that, am I correct that the Capitol Hill campus is not part of this campus plan? Is that the way that works? How does that?
It's a great question. So the Capitol campus is not part of our Hilltop campus plan. It doesn't reside in what would be zoned as a residential neighborhood. So it doesn't require a campus plan. It just, as we build and we move along, we file individual NOIs.
And do you have a relationship with the ANCs in that area, or?
We do. We've got a close relationship with ANC6E and the 2 commissioners that we split between, as well as the chair.
So, but they're not part of the they're not part of the partnership either.
The GCP is just this area for the Hilltop campus, the neighborhoods that surround what we think of as the traditional Georgetown neighborhood campus.
Are part of the partnership now. And so
Right.
is there going to be I'm not saying you need to have one. I'm just curious. Are you going to have a partnership in the Capitol Hill area or not?
We've got a close relationship right now. I think it's something we could consider, but right now we've got a close relationship. We also split between 3 business improvement districts between Noma, Mount Vernon, and the downtown bid. So we're closely tied in and connected with lots of organizations beyond the ANC.
Yeah, well, that sounds good. You went through your presentation quite fast. I'm not sure I fully understand it. As you know, I have a strong interest in the particular topic. So I'm hoping there will be some materials to read ahead of time during September, so that we can be all up to speed and understand it. And I assume also, of course, that there's in all these campus plan things, there's a question by the zoning commission about whether Georgetown is in compliance with all their campus plan things. So of course, that's an issue which we'll want to review as we go forward as well.
Absolutely.
But, this looks like just off the top of my head, it sounds quite sensible to me, what you're proposing.
Thank you. And Chuck, I'll make sure that we get to the full ANC. We'll make sure that we provide the presentation tonight, as well as a copy of the NOI that we filed.
That would be helpful. So we can, over the summer, when we have absolutely nothing else to do, we can read it.
Right, in your leisure time.
In my leisure time. Thank you.
Very good. Any other commissioners have questions? Any members of the public have questions for Mr. Peterson? Yes, Commissioner Simkowitz?
I can't be a commissioner because I've got a conflict of interest, but as a member of the community, I do have 3 problems with Georgetown not living up to their campus plan. Georgetown is asking us for something, and I think now is the time that the ANC, both in Georgetown and here in 3D, get to ask for something back from Georgetown. Number one, there is a horrible rat problem. I've been sending emails and I've been to meetings for years on that. And Georgetown really doesn't seem to care. I go to these meetings and they say that they're going to do something to fix the rat problem. And they might fix it for a while, but it keeps coming back. And I went to a meeting last month at Georgetown, and I said, the trash cans are broken and they cause rats, obviously. And I walked through at 6 o'clock right before a meeting tonight. Trash cans are still broken. I complained about shrubbery where the rats are living. Shrubs are still there. And Georgetown, under the existing campus plan, has a duty to rectify this because of health and safety issues. And it's frustrating. And I think Corey Peterson, I think you're doing a great job. And I was so happy that you came back. And it's nothing against you personally. It's against the institution, coincidentally, where I not only went to school, but when you mentioned the Georgetown Law Center, I was there on opening day in 1971 when my dad was a student there. So, I love Georgetown and I just want to make it better. I don't mean to be antagonistic with them. The second issue that I have is the trolley trestle trail that we have been fighting for years. And there's been a perception that Georgetown has been against that plan. I don't know if it's true or not, but I would like to see something that Georgetown affirmatively states that they want the trolley trestle and they encourage the trolley trestle being built. And this is our chance in the 2 ANCs to really get them to go on record, something that they have never been willing to do. Maybe with Mr. Peterson in charge now, he will, but I've been working on this issue, I think, for 6 years, and it's been frustrating dealing with Georgetown. Again, I'm not here as a commissioner, I'm here as a member of the public. And finally, the hospital driveway is an accident waiting to happen. And when somebody is hit by a car or an ambulance, this will be Exhibit A, the transcript of this hearing, because Georgetown had noticed and has noticed that there's people every day walking on that driveway. There is no plan that I can see for funneling the people off of that driveway. And I've complained about this for months now since the hospital opened. And today, again, I walked there at 6 o'clock. There were tons of people walking through there, including me, not exempt from that. But those are 3 things that I would like to see Georgetown address between now and October when we vote. When ANC3D votes, not me. I can't vote.
Very good. And Mr. Peterson, you've got all that down?
I've got it. Thank you, sir.
All right. I see Nick Keenan would like to speak. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Horn. I just wanted to sort of pile on a little bit to what Commissioner Simkowitz was saying. So currently the university is operating under its 2017 campus plan. And, as we've discussed today, the campus plan is a negotiated document. The university negotiates with its neighbors. Each side grants concessions and makes concessions. So if you look at the existing campus plan on page 12, part of that was that Georgetown agreed to create a bicycle and pedestrian network. And part of that section reads, at such time as a potential Palisades trolley trail extending to the university's main campus comes to fruition, the university shall work with DDOT to explore the feasibility of providing a connection to the university's property to the trail. Now, admittedly, that language is weak, okay? All the university agreed to was to explore the feasibility. But this is something that the university agreed to, and in exchange got concessions from their neighbors. My understanding is that when the trail was actually investigated in 2019, 2 years after that document was executed, the university threatened legal action to prevent the trail from being built. And that is not the action of an entity that is acting in good faith. We can argue whether or not they were within the letter of their agreement, but they certainly were not acting within the spirit of the agreement. And they have also, and I realize that there's been a change of characters and that the people before us today are different people. The predecessors worked hard to support the demolition of the bridge, the Foundry Branch Bridge, so that the trail could never be built. And, you know, again, that is not the action of someone who is working in good faith. And this is not some moldy ancient document we're talking about. This is something that was ratified 7 years ago, and the actions that I'm talking about took place 2 years after that document was ratified. So I agree with Commissioner Simkowitz that this needs to be part of the discussion here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There any other members of the community that wants to address this? I thought that was all. Oh, Commissioner Elkins.
Well, I had a follow-up question. In light of what we just heard, Corey, could you enlighten us about the schedule going forward? You had a little bit on that, but I wasn't really truly focused, I guess. In October, you're coming to see us and 2E, and you're hoping for an endorsement. How does that fit into the schedule with the zoning commission, or do you know at this point?
We have not yet filed the next set of documents. So once we file that, then we will request and get a date, but it would be after we come to the ANC in late September, early October. But am I correct in surmising that you plan to file between now and October? Correct. Yeah. So I guess I'm only suggesting, so that everything goes smoothly for the university and us, that you allow enough time for any discussion of any of these other aspects of the campus plan, so we don't end up delaying your operation. Understood. Appreciate that.
Very good. Are there any other on this topic? Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Peterson. That was very helpful, and we hope to engage with you quite a bit on this. Let's move to official actions. The first one is Commissioner Elkins about WMATA regarding better proposed bus routes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a letter in front of the commission for approval, and I ask for a second so that we can consider it.
Commissioner Nowak seconds. Go ahead.
Let me say, sort of give an introductory set of remarks, and then just see what interest there is on the part of the commission and anybody in the audience to discuss the particulars. And I'm prepared, to go into some detail as directed by the questions. This has been somewhat of a marathon exercise for two reasons. One is, of course, there are a number of changes being proposed by WMATA, and it turns out that a lot of people care about them and have participated. Number two, we decided, maybe it wasn't the right decision, to make this our first project under District Engage, our community engagement project, and it's turned out to be quite an experiment, and I think very successful. But it has taken some work. But I think it's paid off. We had 950 people, 950 responses, not necessarily 950 people. You could respond to more than one one survey, because we had a survey for each of the new routes. And we did, in an offer of generosity, offer to our fellow ANCs nearby who were affected by these same changes to let their constituents participate in our survey, and they did so. So that explains some of the very large turnout. So the challenge, of course, was, having heard from 950 people or responses, how to make sense of what people were telling us. And secondly, that's sort of an understanding issue. And secondly, the question was, how can we as an ANC present recommendations to WMATA that would be ones that they could consider seriously? And we could just sit back and say, you know, we don't like these. We don't like these routes. Please go back to where we are now, or we want to stay where we are. I think all of us understand that is not in the cards. And so the question before this commission tonight is, how can we go forward with recommendations that WMATA might consider? And I'm happy to tell you that last night, Councilmember Fruman held a 2-hour meeting, a town hall with WMATA, and I'm confident that the council member did a lot of preparatory work with WMATA, but it was an excellent meeting in which WMATA was not defensive. In fact, in their opening remarks, they admitted they made a mistake about Cathedral Avenue. You don't hear that oftentimes from government agencies. And so I felt it was a very good meeting, a very good dialogue, and I think they did listen. And it gave us the basis to toughen up, or excuse me, not toughen up, but make more specific the letter that you have in front of you. And that's why you saw some changes taking place today. I do want to give a special thanks to Tricia Duncan, who's not here, and Barry Allen, and our fellow commissioner over in 3A, Ann Mladenoff, for their assistance in figuring out how to make any sense of how to make sense of what we heard. What we do know is people really do care about these buses. And why do they? Well, we're not anywhere near a metro stop, but metro rail. And if you're going to use anything except your private car or a bicycle or walk, you need these buses, and they are, even on today's system, not always reliable. And we do need a better bus system. And the question is, how can this one that's being proposed be made even better? So you'll see in our letter, we have 3 different sets of comments, so to speak. One is some general comments. Secondly, some troublesome corridors that we comment on specifically. And finally, addressing these specific routes. And I'll just say a few words about this, but then allow people to ask any questions if they want to. With regard to the general comments, we focused, based on these comments, particularly on frequency and reliability, as opposed so much on where the routes were going. It's not that we're totally satisfied with where these routes go, but the main concern we kept hearing from people is they don't come frequently enough to be something that I would take on a regular basis. And even more so, and this is particularly on the D6, which is the that comes down MacArthur Boulevard from Sibley. The D6 is highly unreliable, and when it's only coming infrequently and then it's unreliable, you end up saying, I can't take this to a meeting where I have to be there at 9 o'clock. I have no idea whether I'm going to get there at 9 o'clock. I can't be late. So, or an appointment with a doctor or whatever. So it's just not a matter of, well, why can't you be tolerant of this? If you're going to rely on it for regular communication, transportation, a car, even though you have to park and go through the traffic, is much more reliable. And it shouldn't be true of public transportation. We should find a way to make our public transportation reliable and frequent enough. And the point we make in this letter is twofold with regard to reliability. If you make these buses frequent enough, reliability becomes less important. In other words, if they're supposed to come every 15 minutes and it's late by 5 or 10 minutes, you probably have allowed enough of a window for getting to your 9 o'clock meeting, you can still get there. If instead it's a 30-minute window and it's 15, 20 minutes late, you may miss your meeting, and you're not going to do that a second time if this relates to your job or appointment with a doctor. All right, so frequency, if they can improve the frequency, then reliability is less important, but still important. Secondly, if they shorten, as they are proposing, these routes for us across the whole ANC, and don't try to go all the way across town, duplicating, in fact, the metro rail system. Why run parallel to the metro rail? Instead, they're proposing to stop after they get to 1 or 2 metro stations. Then you would think they could turn around quicker. They don't have to go through downtown traffic, which is going to delay them and perhaps make them unreliable. And they should be able to give us better frequency. But here's the killer. If you look at the WMATA map of where they have high frequency lines all over the city, everybody seems to be served except a strange area from Wisconsin Avenue down to the Potomac River. Somehow we don't seem to need any high frequency buses, and so therefore they're not giving them to us. Now, is this a chicken or an egg issue? Is it because they're so unreliable and so infrequent that everybody's got an alternative and they're using the alternatives? Or is it that we just don't have bus riders in our neighborhood? Well, I happen to believe it's more that they've been so unreliable and infrequent that they haven't really marketed their service. And the letter includes a challenge to WMATA to trust us that if they are frequent and reliable, that this neighborhood will respond. Everybody thinks all of us live in multi-million-dollar houses. That is not true of ANC3D. It's certainly true of some, but not everybody. And we shouldn't think that, well, these people don't take buses, they all drive, or have somebody drive them, have their servant drive them to some job or whatever. That's just not most of ANC3D. So that has to do with frequency and reliability and our general comments. I'll finish up by talking about a couple of troublesome corridors. The D6 is troublesome, particularly because of frequency and reliability, as I suggested. And the recommendation is WMATA sit down with ANC3D, with Sibley and Georgetown Hospital, and to talk about what kind of frequency really makes sense. Because, for instance, these hospital workers are on different shifts. I'm not familiar with them, but it does influence potentially a lot of riders who depend on the bus to get to their job in these hospitals. We need to be cognizant of that before we simply just tell WMATA, oh, it all has to be in the rush hour times. So I'm suggesting that they share their data that they have about why their buses are not reliable and who they think are riding these buses, and perhaps put our heads together. So that is a recommendation, very important, I think, to the Palisades, trying to keep it from just simply being, well, we get to comment once and that's the end of the discussion. I also address issues on Cathedral and Glover Park. I'm not going to go into detail unless I have questions here. The reason I address those is because how they solve those problems influences the riders in the rest of ANC3D. Those two areas actually are not in our jurisdiction, but they are right next to us and they influence what kind of service we get, and the details are in the letter. I'll be glad to get into that in some detail. And we also discussed briefly the high school situation. I am happy to say that WMATA did give us rush hour service from a brand new line that will give us some help on MacArthur High School. And that combined with the replacement for the D6, if this runs frequently enough, might be sufficient. But what we have now reportedly is highly unsatisfactory. We have really overcrowded buses, but some of you may have more firsthand information on that than I do. Commissioner Duncan does as well, but she is not here tonight on a well-deserved vacation. And finally, we do give some very specific suggestions on each of the routes. And once again, I'm ready to answer any questions, but I want to focus, if there are questions and concerns about particulars, that's where we ought to focus the discussion tonight. But otherwise, I'm asking that this commission approve this letter to WMATA.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do any of the other commissioners have questions? Yes, Commissioner Paul.
Commissioner Elkins, did you get my email from earlier today?
Yes, I did. It was too late for me to make a change. Perhaps, if you wish, we could bring up the language. You're talking about the high school language.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Because I think like the C85 is like incredible, and that's really great that it'll take kids right from Tenleytown to MacArthur. But there are also people who live like in Kent or in the Palisades up MacArthur, and we should really make it clear that like the issues with the high school need to be solved by increasing frequency on both the C85 and the D94, because otherwise we're going to be serving like the out of boundary students who come to the school, but the students who live in boundary, if the D94 service isn't increased, they're going to have to go very far down MacArthur Boulevard to get to MacArthur High School.
Well, that was the intent of the language, but if you feel that there needs to be something added, and that's why I don't know whether Catherine, you could bring up our letter.
Is it so is it the version that's currently on
the website? Okay, move on down the page and let's see if we can find it. Keep going. It's probably in the middle of the letter. There are two places where this shows up. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Okay, it's under troublesome. Okay, keep going. Nearby here. Oh, here it is. Access to MacArthur High School. So the addition of the new C85 rush hour service that would provide service to, among other places, MacArthur High School is much appreciated. However, the frequency of this service will not be adequate. Currently, students from the school crowd onto the D6 buses. Reportedly, fights have broken out and students walk to further away bus stops in order to get a seat. Recommendation: the frequency of service to the high school should be increased. See below our recommendation regarding the C85. Now, are you suggesting we also address the C, let's see, what the D, whatever the D6 is, I'm sorry.
I think the D94, right? Yeah.
D94.
If I'm not wrong, the C85 doesn't like go down MacArthur in ANC3D. It takes other streets and then it gets to MacArthur around where the high school is. So we're leaving a lot of people who live up MacArthur without bus service. Well, I mean, they'll have bus service, but it won't be increased. We should just push the frequency needs to be increased on both buses to actually serve all.
You're suggesting, if I can say that frequency of service to the high school should be increased in both the C85 and the D96.
Yeah. 94, I think.
90. Excuse me. D94 and the C85.
Let me make sure that's right.
That's right.
I don't want to give them the wrong recommendation. It is the D94.
We can add that sentence. I take that as a friendly amendment. Did you have other concerns, Commissioner?
I think that was, well, I think when you list, could you scroll down to the other part of the letter? This is incredibly long.
The end part of the letter, Catherine, if you would, we get to the specifics.
Yeah.
All right. So here we have the C85. Stop there if you would. So we are recommending service every 15 minutes during the core morning rush hours. And then, Catherine, if you would move down further to the D96,
94.
94. I'm sorry. I'm just
Okay.
used to the N2 and the D6 and all that. They're never
Okay,
converted.
so I guess it's the same thing. When does school get out at MacArthur? Is it 4 p.m.?
No, I think
I
it would be
imagine it's earlier.
3:15. 3:15,
Yeah, so I wonder if we should be asking for increased service starting at 3:15
3 o'clock.
or
3
at
o'clock.
3 o'clock,
3
yeah,
o'clock.
instead of 4 o'clock. And then when do
And
they
what are
start
the
in
morning hours that you have?
Yeah.
7 to 9, but it's probably okay. I think it starts at
I
8:45.
imagine they don't start before 7, yeah.
Yeah, 8:45. I was thinking on the tail end, but I think 7 to 9 is fine.
All right, so we'll change two amendments. We're going to add the D94 as wanting more frequency. And here in this section and any other place where it's mentioned, we will go in the morning, no, excuse me, in the afternoon from 3 to 6.
Yeah, and I guess we should state that it's not just for rush hour, it's for, when school gets out.
When school is out.
Though I don't know what, it's 3 p.m. 3 p.m. is too early to be rush hour, I guess, right?
Well, why don't we just, instead of saying whether it's rush hour or not, why don't we just say these times and then they can decide what they want to call it?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, we can make that change without any problem. Are there other concerns and questions from commissioners? And we'll turn to the audience in a minute. Mr. Chairman, we may want to hear from the audience and see if they're.
All right. Are there hands raised in the audience? If you want to speak, Janet Tursoff has her hand raised.
Hi, I would just mention in the times, just say to accommodate the schools and rush hour, just so they know why you put the times the way you did.
Okay.
Very good.
That's good. I'll change that.
Anyone else want to speak on this? If so, raise your hand. It's a long and complicated letter.
Andrew Heimert has a question in the chat, I think.
Oh, okay. Andrew in the chat says, while I appreciate the Cathedral Avenue gap, there's also value to a bus route that allows Wesley Heights residents to get to Glover Park and Hardy Middle School via bus. Splitting the routes back to the N2 and D2 would lose that benefit.
That's true. We have, he's absolutely correct. There's a trade-off here. On the one hand, what we now know is the N2 does not turn on Cathedral. It keeps going down New Mexico, goes to Tinlaw, and then heads on down past Hardy School, etc. So people who would like that would like that to continue. There are other people in the neighborhood who want to get to DuPont Circle as soon as possible, and they like the N2 that now goes down Massachusetts Avenue. Our letter offers options here and doesn't take a strong position one way or the other. That's how we sort of split the baby in half. We basically are saying one approach is to have the N2 not go down to Glover Park, have the WMATA restore the D2, which was serving that community in the past, but now would be abolished. Instead, restore that and allow the N2 to go, instead of going down to Glover Park, to head for DuPont straight down to Massachusetts Avenue. The other alternative, which is offered, is turn up Cathedral, so we still collect all those people. There are a lot of people who live on Cathedral Avenue in that very short space, and then turn back down to Glover Park and go through Glover Park. I guess where I came out was I didn't know how to decide between those two groups, and we would leave it to WMATA. Let's see what Andrew says, though. The N2 goes down Massachusetts, the N96 would go to Glover Park. the N4 goes down. I think, Andrew, that I get confused, but then the current N4 goes, which is now being replaced, goes down Massachusetts Avenue.
I think they both do.
The N4 goes straight down Massachusetts Avenue. The
Right,
N2 goes down New Mexico, up Cathedral, and then down Massachusetts Avenue. The new N96 would go down New Mexico and then into Glover Park
right.
that way.
That's
So
correct.
the point I was trying to make was there is some value to a route that connects Wesley Heights and Glover Park,
Yes,
particularly for Hardy Middle School. So if you were asking for the N96 to basically go back to what the N2 route is now, so essentially go up New Mexico Cathedral, you would lose that connectivity between Wesley Heights and Glover Park
that's true. At the same time, you have.
and Hardy Middle School.
That's right. But at the same time, there are, I agree with you. There are a lot of people who would like that. There are a lot of other people, I believe, who would like to get to DuPont Circle down Massachusetts Avenue, just as they do now on the M2. How does ANC3D make a choice between those two groups of people? So I'm suggesting that we don't have the data about what the numbers are.
Yeah.
And that
Well, yeah, and you don't have the data about a route that doesn't exist is the other problem. But one possibility would be to suggest that the D2 extend up to, say Ward Circle or somewhere thereabouts, if that were feasible, or even Tenleytown, so that it would sort of overlay where the N2 is now.
I see.
Whatever the new numbers are.
Right. Well, I could take that as a friendly amendment that, for those of you who don't know, the D2, if I understand what you're saying, Andrew, the D2 now starts in Glover Park and then heads down over Q Street, ultimately ends up at DuPont
Circle. Correct. Yeah, it does a loop through Glover Park.
All right. So do I understand you as suggesting an amendment could be that they could extend the D2, they could keep the D2 and extend it up to Ward Circle or something like that, which would then allow people to have the benefit of going to Glover Park and Hardy School, as you suggest.
Is there a
Exactly.
bus that runs
and
today
transfer.
along New Mexico?
Yes, the N2 runs along New Mexico from Nebraska Avenue to Cathedral.
So it comes down to New Mexico and then turns on Cathedral and heads to Massachusetts Avenue and then down Massachusetts to DuPont. That's the current N2.
Right.
The N4 goes straight down Massachusetts Avenue. So, but they sort of join up once they get to that lower part, the Cathedral. And what the new route does not have the N2 substitute turn up Cathedral. Instead, it keeps going down Town Law into Glover Park and on over Q Street over to DuPont. So it services the Glover Park community. One of the concerns, of course, is that there's so many people in Glover Park who want to take the bus and do take the bus. They have 10-minute headways on that bus service now, that if you're going to have a hard time having both the regular N2 passengers and the D2 passengers on the same bus. They're just going to be so overcrowded. So I'm hearing a suggestion from Andrew, see if there's any objection that we change the letter we add to the letter the suggestion that perhaps the Q2, excuse me, the D2, too many letters, the D2 be extended up, well, it could be extended at least up to Cathedral in New Mexico. Is that right, Andrew? People could change their
yeah, I mean, I think that would achieve a fair amount, although I guess the Hardy school students probably come from north of Cathedral too.
Yeah, so we could say at least up to the Cathedral.
Yeah, I mean, the bus needs to turn around somewhere, so I don't know. Right. I think Ward Circle might be an easier turnaround point than the intersection of New Mexico and Cathedral.
Okay,
but that's sort of a WMATA question.
okay. So I'll say to at least to Cathedral, if not to Wardsur.
Okay.
Sure.
Sounds
Okay.
like a friendly amendment.
That's a friendly amendment as far as I'm concerned. Are there any other comments?
Okay, I don't see any more, so shall we call the question and have a vote? The vote is on the letter as amended with friendly amendments. All in favor? Against? Okay, it is 6-0 with 1 absent. Thank you very much. We're moving to the second official action, which is the letter to the Zoning Commission about set down of Wesley Seminary text amendment. Commissioner Elkins, you have a letter. Would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that for us to approve a letter to the zoning commission with regard to the Wesley set down decision.
Is there a second? Commissioner Simkowitz seconds. Commissioner Elkins?
Yes, and I see Pat Brown is here from representing Wesley, and if there are any questions, he can field them for us. The process here is as follows, and Mr. Brown, you correct me if I don't do it correctly. American University, of course, has been involved wanting to build this dormitory for some years. They've decided, for reasons we've discussed in this ANC and before, that they will go with text amendments. They have proposed these text amendments and asked that they have a hearing on them. The process is the Office of Planning does a review of the text amendments to see whether in fact that they are sufficient and ready for a hearing. That's called a set down for hearing. The Zoning Commission gives ANCs the opportunity to comment on whether a set down is timely and appropriate. And we have 30 days to do that after having been notified, and we're within that time period, I believe. And for that reason, I have written a letter for us to approve that basically makes this point. We are not addressing ourselves either to the merits of the text amendments or to their legal sufficiency. That's for the Office of Planning to make the initial determination on, but we are addressing ourselves to whether we think the subject matter is ready for a hearing. And I think all of us on this commission would be willing to testify that we have had a thorough understanding of what Wesley Seminary wishes to do with regard to this dormitory, and that there's none of us are in the dark on it, and therefore there is no reason to delay this hearing. And we are not commenting on the specifics. I think it would be our usual approach to ask neighbors to tell us what comments we should make about these text amendments, but that's not before us at this point. The issue is, should there be a hearing? And I'm suggesting the answer is yes, it is timely, and I'm asking for approval of this letter.
Thank you. Would someone else like to speak on this matter? Commissioners? Others? Seems like a pretty straightforward matter.
We have Mr. Clarkson here.
Yes.
Yes, thanks. I just like to thank this William Clarkson Spring Valley Neighborhood Association. We are have been a long time, I guess, official party in support of Wesley's application. And I would like to thank this ANC for their infinite patience and diligence in addressing this matter and coming at it from a fair, rational perspective. And I fully support the letter. And as this moves forward, I would really urge, when we have future ANC meetings, the opponents of the parties in opposition to this project will be on the call, will be at the meeting listening. And I would really urge you, I've tried, they stay silent to me, but I would really urge the commission to ask them what their practical concerns are
and express those concerns publicly to their neighbors and to their elected representatives, you. Because to date, they haven't. They stay in the background, they stay in the shadows, they file legal challenges. I'm a lawyer, I know this, I've got to give them credit for it. But it really is detrimental to, the public discourse, I think. And I think they should be held accountable, because at the end of the day, when they likely sue, as was the case with Superfresh across Massachusetts Avenue from the seminary, they can hold the project up indefinitely, essentially. And Wesley leaves, and then the place is empty and barren. And that's might be what they want, but I don't think that helps anyone, and I don't think it helps the community. So I would just once again urge everyone, and urge this commission to just really ask them questions and make them publicly state their substantive opposition, not their legal procedural arguments, but their practical opposition arguments to this at the next meeting. Final plug: Mark Fisher, Washington Post editor and columnist, wrote a fantastic opinion piece on June 5th in the Post on the Superfresh site development odyssey. And I'm going to drop the link to that column in the chat. And I would urge everyone to read it if they haven't already. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions on this issue? Or shall we go to a vote? Let's, I'd like to call the question. All in favor of adopting this letter, please say yay or nay. Yes. Yes. Okay, that's 6. So it's 6 yes, 0 no, and 1 absent. We're going to move to the next official action, which is the letter to the mayor and DDOT regarding pedestrian safety on Foxhall Road. Again, Commissioner Elkins, would you like to make a motion?
Can I just make a suggestion? Commissioner Elkins, I think that the 2 letters that you are next up on the agenda are similar and they're, both related to traffic safety. Might I suggest that you talk about both of them and then we hold one vote? I find it unlikely that we would split our votes on these topics.
If that's the wish of the chair, I shall do whatever the chair.
Sure, why don't we go ahead and do that?
Okay, that's fine. I realize I seem to be dominating the agenda this time. I had nothing else to do, so I produced 4 letters. It only took 200 hours to do that. Foxhall Road. We have a letter here with regard to safety, improving the safety, if we can, for Foxhall Road with regard to pedestrians in particular. And I have a letter to present on that. I ask for a second.
Commissioner Simkowitz, seconds.
And I have a letter here with regard to right turn on red, the fact that this becomes a ban on right turn on red except in specified intersections becomes effective on January 1. And it's a letter to the mayor about what kind of educational program she intends to carry out. So I ask for a second on that.
Second, Commissioner Davis, seconds.
So with regard to Foxhall Road, we're all familiar with the tragic collision that took place there last month. And it happens that Chairman Duncan and I saw the opportunity to use our District Engage software once again to try to have a two-way conversation with the community, in particular those who live near these intersections, and particularly those who live in Foxhall Village, about what they think about these intersections, what they observe, and what improvements they would like. And we had a number of responses, and if you don't mind, I will share my screen here to help you see what they said. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
So we had a number of items. We had Speed camera along Foxhall Road, that was very popular at 36 people. Red light camera on Q Street, 38. Flashing pedestrian light at Q Street, 27. I have to say, I think the chances of getting that from DDOT is unlikely because we already have a light there, but I included it because it was a strongly felt idea coming out of the community. And it is in the letter. A flashing pedestrian light at Volta Place, very strong support for that. Don't block the box striping, Q Street, 17. Curb extensions at Volta and Reservoir Crossings, 19. And curb extensions at Q Street. Let me just say about curb extensions, I think in the short term, the curb extensions would probably be done by flex posts, but it would be something that we would press DDOT to then convert into permanent concrete in terms of curb extensions. A longer walk signal at Q Street so that people can get across the street. And a longer green traffic signal for turns from Q Street. This is my observation that people are racing out of Q Street during rush hour because they are afraid they're going to have to wait for another cycle, and they go quite fast through that intersection. So I'm going to pause for a second and see if anybody has any questions about this particular survey and these particular items, because they are all included in the letter.
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. So the letter is written to both the mayor, who's in charge now of Vision Zero, not DDOT anymore, and acting director Sharon Kirschbaum. And it essentially recommends these items. I do see a typo just as I turn this page. There's a number 12, which doesn't exist. We'll take that out. And one version of this letter, it had a blank about how many residents had signed a petition asking for this flashing pedestrian light, and the end of the latest version says over 50. I don't have the exact number because Commissioner Duncan has those, and she's not here. But I know it's over 50. So it's probably more like 60, but I don't want to overstate it. So that, I'm going to stop at that point, Mr. Chairman, because people may have specific suggestions about the letter, but I think that is what the letter covers.
Okay, I see a hand raised, Mr. Heinrich.
Thanks. I did have one question. Sorry, I'll try to get my video going too. I did have one question about the timing of the green turn signal at Q Street. It strikes me that however long that is, some driver is always going to try to race to make the yellow and run a red. We see that pretty much everywhere. And it strikes me that the better answer might be, or request might be, for DDOT to do a signal timing investigation there, because there's also a lot of traffic on Foxhall Road in the morning, and lengthening the green for Q will just delay further the traffic on Foxhall, which will make cars or drivers race even more. So if the timing's imbalanced, that's something that can be fixed and should be fixed, but I'm not sure it's necessarily lengthening that signal that will really solve anything, because there's always that last person that wants to squeeze through.
Well, I disagree with you, Andrew, and here's why. Now, of course, I was only there one morning, but I sat there for more than 2 hours and watched what people did. And at least that day, there were about 5 or 6 cars. There were not 20. And it was the 5th and 6th cars that were racing to beat the yellow. Now, it's true that over time we can have more cars coming up Q Street and trying to turn. But I'm afraid if they do just the study, they're not going to recognize, as I think anybody would who sat there, it's not just me, that what's happening is these people are trying to beat the signal, and they are being reckless or near reckless in how they make that turn. And giving due due deference to the people coming up Foxhall is nice, but they're not hopefully going to run over anybody. So I'm just sticking with the letter as it is.
Is there, yes, Commissioner Nowak?
My question is around the suggestion of the crosswalk timing and increasing the 3-second lead time for pedestrians to 6 or more seconds. Frankly, it's my fear that that will get the pedestrian, halfway or into the up northbound lane of Foxhall just at the time the pedestrian is reaching there. I think it actually causes a greater risk than 3 seconds. If the pedestrian steps off the curb, they will not have yet gotten to the center line in Foxhall. So I'm curious about that suggestion and how you came to that idea.
Well, leading pedestrian lights are set for either 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds according to standard practice, and so that's how I came up with 6 seconds. But that doesn't really address your question.
Yeah, I mean, I think 6
understand
makes
your
sense
point.
if you are on MacArthur and you've got to cross, 2 lanes southbound and then 2 lanes northbound. That then 6 seconds does make sense. But my concern would be with the 3 seconds that as the first car is about to turn, the pedestrian is now directly in there.
Well, it probably depends on which way you're walking. I think you're absolutely.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
There's
fair.
an issue when you're crossing toward jetties, shall we say, that you're right, that could put the person really across the yellow line.
Right.
Right in line. But if you're crossing the other way, they might be.
Yeah, that's fair. And I guess the second part of that question is, why did you not ask that we go directly to the barn dance? Because that would be, I would love for every light in the city to go to a barn dance, but I'm curious.
We have that, of course, in the letter.
Right.
I guess it's a sort of a judgment on my part that DDOT will be reluctant to do a barn dance.
Okay. Yeah.
And that they would almost certainly be willing to do the 3 to 6 seconds. But I still have the barns dance in there. And I mean, if the commission feels strongly that we should not change the walk light, I will not resist that. But I do think there was strong interest in that. I've forgotten now what the numbers were that I was showing on my screen here, but
I think if I remember your chart correctly, it was the lowest of the longest signal.
It was 36 people. Now, everybody's a layman here, and we're not traffic engineers, and including the people, of course, who answered this survey. So I think we have a comment maybe from Mr. Heimer.
Sorry to come in on this. I wanted to maybe just provide a little bit of information in reaction to Commissioner Nowak for what it's worth. One, on the leading pedestrian intervals, the idea is not that the person necessarily is across the crosswalk, just that they're more visible by being in the middle of the street. And the hope is drivers will actually see people in the middle of the street as opposed to closer to the curb. So I think there's an advantage to it anyway. I mean, that's the design theory. On the barns dance, we actually asked DDOT about that in connection with the New Mexico Avenue bike lanes and the intersection at Macomb Street in New Mexico, which, if you're familiar with it, it's sort of offset. It's where the Starbucks is, and it's sort of a weird set of left turns. And they told us when we asked about the possibility there was that they are extremely reluctant to use the barns dance method. They've used it only in a very small number of intersections in DC, and it's only those where there's really very substantial pedestrian volume. So this is not to say don't ask for it, but don't get your expectations high.
Yeah. Okay.
Commissioner Davis, you had your hand.
I did. I just wanted to mention to Commissioner Nowak, this came up actually at the Transportation Committee meeting a couple weeks ago, because I had exactly your same question pretty much with the lead interval timing, and I was provided with actual studies. I believe it was from State College about how these things work. I'm happy to forward that to you. So these
Thank
things
you.
I studied extensively. It was very interesting. And like things I didn't realize. Also, just another quick question. I realize, the way this letter is worded, it's basically asking to consider all these things. We're not necessarily asking that they implement every single one of these 11 items, but that we consider each one of them. I was wondering if anybody knows if does Vision Zero and now in the mayor's office work with DDOT and with MPD? Like, what's the process here when there's a fatality with pedestrian as regards to Vision Zero? Like MPD, I understand, does a big investigation. I don't know when that's going to be complete. And I can only assume that they share that with Vision Zero and with DDOT. And from there, the engineers can take that information and then make changes that they see fit. In addition to suggestions that might come from us.
Well, I did inquire about that. In fact, I wrote Acting Director Kirschbaum and suggested that there should be a process, if there wasn't, of having an investigation of every single pedestrian death, and that they should assess what could be done to have prevented it and what other changes might be made. I was assured by the director that in fact that does take place with regard to every accident, and that in fact it had taken place in this case, and they put me in touch with the person who was the spokesman for that in the mayor's office. And they did have a session. I had suggested that perhaps in the future they could include ANCs in those discussions, and the answer sort of was, well, some of what we hear from the Metropolitan Police is not, is still tentative and therefore would be sensitive, et cetera. I'm not sure I really buy that answer, but anyway, that was their answer. And more importantly, that they had already pretty much decided what they should do, which was primarily to cut some trees to make the intersection more visible. I suggested we were talking to the neighborhood and doing our engagement process, and we hoped that they would be interested in the results of that. And so I'm hoping that they still are open to some additional changes. But I am happy to say they do these investigations, but they would have learned something, I think, by talking to the community, which they did not do.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Is there any other comments before we?
Mr. Simkowitz has his hand up.
Yeah,
Yes.
what Commissioner Davis said is true. I asked for two intersection flashing lights, one at Hardy Park south of where the accident happened, and one up by Foxhall Crescents, and was told that they need to do a study. But the study never happened to my knowledge. And I said I wasn't joking when I said, what are you waiting for? Somebody to get hit by a car and killed. And yet, that's what happened. Somebody got hit by a car and killed, and they were waiting for somebody to get hit by a car and killed. And, I applaud Commissioner Elkins for taking the time. I know you spent a lot of time on this, and, your youthful energy has been a real inspiration to me, because it's helping a lot of people on this. And hopefully our resolution will be well accepted at the mayor's office.
I think you are correct that the normal response for the department is to say we need to do a study, and they call it as you know, the traffic safety and it used to be investigation. Now it's traffic safety input. They're not promising to do an investigation. They're simply taking the input from citizens. This program has been, I think, frustration to many ANCs across the city. And recently, at Ms. Kirschbaum's confirmation hearing, Council Member Henderson asked Commissioner Duncan, well, what do you think about the TSI program? And that caught her unawares. And she said, well, I wish Chuck Elkins were here. He's got some opinions about it. Apparently everybody laughed. I guess I'm known for my opinions. And so I have written to, not to let any stone go unturned, I have written to Councilmember Henderson and said, gee, if you really are interested in the TSI program, I'd be happy to talk to a number of my fellow commissioners about this and gather some thoughts and provide them to you. It's been only a few days here over the 4th of July, so I haven't heard back. I hope I do hear back. But if I do, I would hope this commission, among others, would take up this issue, because they completely cut ANCs out of the TSI program, as you know, JP, and I think we have something to add to it, such as the recommendations that you made.
I
And
mean, it's so frustrating because we said, what are you waiting for? Somebody to get hit by a car and killed. And, you know, they don't answer. You know, they don't have a reason. And, you know, we know in the ANCs, I don't care if we're in 3D or somewhere else, and we know where the dangerous intersections are.
Right.
We're the experts on the ground. You know, they need to listen to us more. And, you know, I know that you're doing a job, not just for this ANC, but across the district. You know, it's very sad that somebody got hit by a car and killed, literally in our district. I mean, that doesn't happen. I don't remember the last time that happened.
well, if Councilmember Henderson takes me up on my offer, I will call you, JP, and I will ask your help to really let's gather some thoughts here. Maybe my other colleagues here on 3D, and my thought is also to reach out to some of the other Ward 3 commissioners, since I know from talking to some of them that they are really mad about this program.
One of the other, I don't know if anyone knows, but one of the other issues of the TSI program, I think, I don't know if Trisha was at the open house. I think she was, but someone had told, a DDOT representative told us that, you know how they like broke it down by quarters, like there's Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. They said they had already exceeded the amount of TSI like implements that they've done all year, and so there will be none for Q4, which is sort of not how they were supposed to do this program, I'm pretty sure. And so that's, I mean, that's just an issue with how they've redone this entire program. I think we should like weigh in on, we should do a letter or something, because they've been handling this really poorly. And I understand if they don't have enough funding or something, but we should advocate for them to get that, I guess. And then we should advocate for them to have an actual TSI program that actually listens to what we need, instead of saying, oh, we're not going to do this here. It's not prioritized enough. We just can't. And then, you know, accidents like this happen, and we've been talking to them for
One of my ideas
for them
for us
months,
to
yeah.
have is to have ask the council to have a roundtable with regard to the TSI program. You know, roundtable is where they don't have a bill, but they're essentially taking comment. And I think an awful lot of ANCs would come in at that roundtable, and others too, of course. I think part of the problem is they've rationed how much money they're willing to spend on safety, and when they run out of money, as you say, well, okay, that's it for safety this year. But they're out there paving. So, as you know, I believe they misallocate their funds between safety and putting in new infrastructure. But I won that battle a little bit on sidewalks this year, but not much, just a little bit.
Very good. Anything more on this, or shall we flip over to the right turn on red? Let's go to right turn on red.
Okay. So, how many people knew before they read my letter, probably commissioners knew, that on January 1, you will no longer be allowed legally to turn right on red unless there's a sign that says you can turn right on red? And how many people in Maryland and Virginia know that? And how many people from Wisconsin know that, et cetera? Now, so on January 1, it's going to be, oh, gee, it's the law. And well, look at all these people violating it. Well, whose fault is that? Well, you can't prevent it all. Absolutely. There are going to be a lot of violations. But where's the executive in trying to reduce those violations? Now, why am I concerned about these violations? Well, because I think they're dangerous to pedestrians, particularly when pedestrians don't know what to expect from a driver. They know they're not supposed to turn right on red, and yet they turn right on red. That is particularly hazardous. So I think this is an important program. It's not the most important thing going on in the city government, but we haven't heard from them, and it doesn't hurt to sort of ask them. And maybe somebody might decide to do something about it. So excuse me, did I ask? I think we did ask for a second of this already.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think I did ask for a second.
Okay, I asked for, if you could give me a second.
Okay, Commissioner Colin Roosevelt is seconds.
So anyway, that is basically the letter. It's a letter just, we're not accusing them of doing anything wrong. We're just saying, hey, there's a deadline coming and you got less than 6 months to gear up a program, and please do.
Any commissioners have comments or questions about this letter?
Gonna move the question.
All right, Mr. Heimer, do you have a question?
Sorry to disappoint. I'll try to be quick. I think, Chuck, you made a very eloquent point about the danger to pedestrians from right on red. It's a little bit unfortunate. The letter makes no mention that there's actually a danger to right on red, and that the implementation of this law will be a good thing that promotes safety. So I encourage addition of a sentence along those lines.
It's already in law, Andrew, so I don't think we need to opine on that because it's already, the law is passed, it's going in, so.
Very good. Any other comments on this, or should we move to a vote? Okay, let's vote on this one, and then we'll go back and vote on the previous pedestrian safety. Let's do the right turn on red first. All in favor of this letter? I see 6, so it's 6-0 with 1 absent. And now let's go back to the pedestrian safety on Foxhall Road letter. All in favor of that letter? It's 6-0 with 1 absent. That passes. So we move from official actions to new business. There's nothing, no special new business. We're moving to commission business. The treasurer's report.
There is nothing of note to report from the treasurer's office, other than that, that we have our invoice from our administrator that Commissioner Horn, I'll be catching up with you for a signature in the chairman's absence.
And the QFR report
is due not this month because the quarter just closed.
It's due August 15th or so.
Yeah.
Are we going to meet to approve that? Or?
I propose that we do a special meeting with that as the only agenda item, and we approve it in 10 minutes, and that's it, with nothing else on the. That's the only. We don't have anything on the August schedule, so that would be my proposal there.
All right. Anything else about the treasurer's report? We don't have to approve that, right? Okay, so
no, there's nothing to approve. There's
approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting? Commissioner Davis, we have the minutes of the last meeting to approve, right?
Yes, I sent them around to the commission
Yes.
a couple of weeks ago for approval, and if there aren't any objections, I guess we can move forward.
All right, and the second was Commissioner Colin Roosevelt, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. All in favor of approving the minutes? 6-0 with 1 absent. The notice of next month's meeting is, their next regular meeting is September 4th, 2024. And as for a special meeting, we will inform you when we know something.
Yeah, the bylaws dictate notice 7 days in advance, so we can just pick a date that's convenient for the commissioners, publish 7 days in advance, and as long as it's public on Zoom, as we are tonight, then we will be within the confines of the bylaws.
Very good. Is there anything else before we?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just be careful about this. Are there people who are the commissioners who are going to be taking vacations? We need at least 4. So we just are there 4 commissioners at least who are going to be here in August?
sometime between now and August 15th.
Yeah,
We'll
so-
find a date.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm,
Yes, okay, very good. So, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Commissioner Noack, moves to adjourn, Commissioner Davis seconds. All in favor of adjourning this meeting? 6-0 with one absent. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. I thought that was a very good meeting.
I think.
thank you for
thank you
your
very much.
presiding.
I
Vice
don't think
Chairman.
we've ever gotten through before 9 o'clock. Didn't
Yeah,
go over
new record.
9:01 last time?
Last time was fast.
Congratulations,
too. Yeah.
Chairman Warren. Very good.
Right.